ladies and gentle friends. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. If you're new here, this is Constellation Library. It is very nice to see you. I'm going to go ahead and just having a little aside with you before we get into the video. I was out kind of late last night. I had a couple of drinks. It is very cold. I don't sound as lovely as I feel like I usually sound. My voice is kind of scratchy from yelling. It was live music, so I was like trying to talk to people. It was a bad idea, but we're here now. So I'm just kind of vibing, enjoying my coffee, and just, you know, hanging out. So it's going to be a very chill video for you. We're going to go over the books that I will be reading in February, or hope to be reading in February. I did earlier on in the week, I filmed the board game version of the Mystical Library TBR game that I do to determine my TBR each month. So that footage is going to follow this, and it is kind of dark, I think, a little bit. I apologize. Usually by the time I'm able to really do that, it is evening and it is winter in Ohio, so it's like dark at 5 o'clock. So I have lights on and like tried to light up the board and everything, but I just want to apologize to you if it is a bit dark. I did motor through that pretty quickly. And I'm pretty happy with the cards that I drew and the prompts that I drew, because I have been jonesing to read some adult fantasy this month or whenever. Like, I've just been thinking about them. So I'm pretty happy that I was able to draw some cards that let me do that. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and scooch us over to the desk and the board game so that you guys can see that part, and then we will be back and I will go over all of my selections for the prompts with you then. Okay, see you guys in a bit. And welcome back to another round of the Mystical Library Tarot Chooses My TBR. So this is for February's TBR. As I may have mentioned in the other part of this that I will be filming, I usually film this part first. I have a few books that are carrying over from last month. If I'm able to fit them with the prompts, I will, just to make my life easier, because it's my game and I can do that. And I have a few that I'm hoping to read, that I'm in the mood for, that I hope fit the prompts as well. So we'll see what happens. I will be rolling 5 as I usually do, and I've started us off on the Pentacles symbol right here because this is where we left off last month. So we are going to go ahead and get started right away. Go ahead and roll. A 1. Wands. Get my little cheat sheet over here. So 4 of Wands. This is fun. Can you see how cute this is? Look at all these cats. I want all these cats. So 4 of Wands says to read a book that features a celebration or a party. Okay. And roll again. 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cups. Cups. The 8 of Cups. I'm going to show you this. Sorry, the lighting is poor because it's after 8 o'clock here in Ohio, so it's dark out. So 8 of Cups. Read a second chance romance. That's oddly specific. I don't even know if I have a second chance romance, because the one that I have I've read already, which is the Bromance Book Club. So I think that I'm actually just going to not do this one, because I literally do not have anything that fits this right now. So I'm going to set this off to the side and we're going to roll again, because I make the rules, right? It's my game. I make the rules. And I don't want to buy a book just to satisfy one of these. That, to me, is counterproductive. I'm trying to get through the books I have, not have to buy new ones. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Death. Oh, goody. What's the Death card? The Death card is a book about gods or monsters. Let's see here. Sort through all this mess. All right, Death card. So that is number 2. Put this stack over here. I don't know if I really. So, Death. So this is Celebration or Party. This one is Gods or Monsters. This one will be easy, actually. I've got a few already lined up. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Zodiac. Found family. Cancer. Found family trope. All right. 8. Whew. If I can just grab this little triangle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Moon card. Read a fantasy or magical realism. This is working out splendidly for me. I just need you guys to know. One more. I almost picked that up to roll it. I don't need to do that. Mess everything up. Number 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Cups. 4 of Cups. I feel like I've had this one. Read a book set where you live. Okay. I think I can make that work, actually. Because not necessarily in Dayton, Ohio, but I do live on Earth. So anywhere on Earth I think would fit for that. Okay, so let me clear all this away real fast, and then I'll lay the ones that I drew out. That obviously went very, very quickly, except for one tiny little skip up. And I think I ended it here. Death. And then, where did I end? Zodiac, and then Moon, and then Cup over here, right? Okay. Try to remember that I ended on Cups. So, let me get all of these guys shifted. All right, so my 5 draws for this month. I have the 4 of Wands, which is a book that features a party or celebration. Yes. Death is read a book about gods or monsters. This is the Zodiac of Cancer, which is the found family trope. This is the new moon for moon phases cards, and it is to read a fantasy or a magical realism. And then the final draw, the 4 of Cups, is to read a book set where you live. So I am going to hunt around for these books, and I will be right back with you, and I'll chat with you a little bit about what books I will be reading for the month of February. So thank you so much for watching this part, and I will see you in a little bit. Bye. Okay, so we are done that whole section of the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching that. I do know that there was a comment that I had on my last TBR video talking about wanting to follow the prompts that I pulled to select your own TBR, and you are more than welcome to do that. I think that's super cool. I would like to see what kind of books you use for those prompts, and maybe if we have any overlap in them. But I will say that as intimidating as this pile looks, I did some math, I added up the pages, and having finished all the books that I think I'm going to finish in January, I still got a couple days, but I might add a graphic novel in there or something. But at this point, I'm pretty much done, and it was 2,500 pages, I think, that I read in January. Excuse me, sorry, I have a drink of water here. So 2,500 pages I read in January, and I believe after I added all of the pages for this stack up without one of the rollover books, because we're not counting that one, it was 2,700 some, so it's only like 200 additional pages, which I think is doable. I apologize if I just shook you because you're on a chair and the books are on a chair. So anyway, we are going to just go ahead and start with the first card draw from the game, and that was 4 of Wands, and the prompt for that was a book that includes a party or a celebration. So the book that I chose for that prompt, sticking a little sticky note over here, the book that I chose for that prompt is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This book has been one that I've had ever since it released. It came out in 2020, and I was very excited because I knew from reading ACOTAR that I enjoyed Sarah J. Maas's writing. I had not finished ACOTAR at the time, I didn't finish that until this past year. I really do like her writing. I mean, it's easy to get into. It is gripping in terms of like the tension, especially the relational tension between characters and romantic interests. But this is definitely labeled and geared more towards adults, even though ACOTAR I feel is more like a new adult, not a young adult. I guess this is geared more towards adults. I don't really know a lot about this. I attempted to read it right after I got it and maybe got 100 pages in, maybe. And I don't even know if I got that far, quite frankly, but I was just kind of confused. Her world building, there was a lot of like info right at the beginning, and it was just more than I was willing to put my brain to at the time, so I set it aside. But the second one, House of Breath. So the second book in this series is coming out on the 15th of February. Ideally, I would start the month off with this one and get this one done so that I am ready for the second book when it comes out. I have no idea if I'm going to read it immediately following it, but I would still at least like to have this one done before it comes out so that I feel okay buying it. So I don't know a lot about this other than the main character. I think her name is Bryce. She is a party girl, which is why I chose this book for the prompt. And I think a bunch of her friends get murdered, and they think that they caught the guy and he's behind bars and all of that, but the same style of murders continue to happen after the fact, so they know they have the wrong person. And because she was close with the event and knew the people, they kind of enlist her to help them solve this crime. And I know that there is like an angel type character, I think. Like, is he like a fallen angel? What is he? Yeah, he's a fallen angel. And his name is Hunt, and I believe that he is the love interest. And I think that he's on the cover of the second one. So, but beyond that, I really don't know much. So I'm interested to actually give this another try, get deeper into it, and see what everybody loves about it. The second card that I drew for the month was the Death card, which is a book with gods or monsters. And for that prompt, I went ahead and chose The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. And again, this particular book I think is a vengeance tale. I don't know a whole lot about it. I do enjoy a good vengeance tale. I know that there's an ongoing war and that women can draw down dragons and that men can train and be basically like unstoppable machines of death and destruction. So the main character doesn't want that life. He wants to settle down and have a family and have children, but that option is taken away from him because people he cares about are killed. And so now he is on this vengeance quest to make the people who did this to him pay for it. I know that the author is a gentleman of color and that this is a very well received and enjoyed work in the fiction genre, especially the adult fiction genre. Everyone that I've heard who has read this has loved it and felt like it was just a page turner, really easy to get into. Now that I have inserted myself into communities and circles where people are reading more diversely and promoting more diverse books, they're on my radar now. And that's why I got this one, because I knew that the story sounded super interesting to me, and the fact that the author was a man of color, I was like, have to, absolutely have to. And I've heard nothing but great things about it from pretty much everybody I follow who has read it. So I'm so pumped about it. I've also heard it's fast-paced, which is good because I can get distracted with long fantasy novels of any kind and that I have to like go away and come back to because it just gets a little overwhelming. But I'm hopeful that that won't be the case with this based on what I've heard from others. The third card that I drew was a zodiac card. It was for Cancer and it was the found family trope. So I chose this book upon recommendation from Rachel Unread on Instagram. I put up a story asking for recommendations for found family because I just could not think of any that were like talked about as being found family that I had on my shelves. As far as some of the recommendations, I got recommended Six of Crows, I got recommended The Beautiful. There were a few others I can't remember off the top of my head, but none of them like really spoke to me. But my friend Rachel said that The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne said that one of the points of view in this book is able to become part of an existing found family, if I am understanding Rachel's description correctly. So that does exist, even if it's kind of a small thing, it does exist in here according to her. So it just has to exist in the book for my prompts. Like, it doesn't have to be the main focus of the book, but it just needs to be a part of it. And so that's why I went ahead and chose this one. I've been wanting to read this one anyway. I know that the author is a history buff in terms of Viking history and Norse mythology and all of that. I know that he does Viking reenactment, so I trust that this is going to be pretty legit in terms of the history and the mythology and the world building and all of that sort of thing. I think there'll be some real authenticity to it. So that excites me. I also know that this has some female protagonists. I believe it's 3 points of view, and I know at least 2 of the 3 are female, which I really love. Women were just treated totally differently in Viking myth than in, well, they were treated totally differently just in Viking culture, not just in myth, than in a lot of other types of cultures where women were the subservient ones. So I love reading stories about that because, like, they were important and not just as broodmares for the men. So very pumped to read this one. I love anything Viking and anything Norse, and I think that this is going to be very good. The second one comes out this year. I would like to get through this one so that I will be able to read the second one when it comes out, or at least, again, be caught up and ready for it when I do want to read it. The 4th card that I drew was one of the moon phase cards for the new moon, and the prompt was to read a fantasy or magical realism. I tell you, my draws were really coming through for me this month. And this book is actually a carryover from last month, and that is Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. This particular story, I can't say too much about this book because it is a sequel to The City of Brass. But The City of Brass was a dual POV story. It had Nari and Ali, and there was also Dada, but I don't think he had his own POV. I don't think he had his own POV. Maybe I'm misremembering. But I didn't particularly care for Nari in the first book. I felt like she was kind of insufferable and made really stupid choices and just had a bad attitude. And, like, your character doesn't need to be likable necessarily for me to enjoy them, but she worked my last fucking nerve. I think that's part of the reason why I didn't jump right into this one, but I want to finish the story. I want to finish the series because apart from Nari, I really enjoyed pretty much everything about that first book, and I've heard from my husband, who has finished it, that it only gets better as the books progress. Carryover, hopefully I get to it. The final draw that I had was the 4 of Cups, which was to read a book set where you lived, and I think I used this actually on a book in the same series last month or the month before, but I wanted to put the book in question with a prompt, even though I planned to read it already, because I saw the stack of these large fantasy books piling up, and I already knew that I had to read this one. So I was just like, I'm not going to add a whole other book to my TBR. I'm just going to apply this prompt to this book. And that is The Winter of the Witch by Katherine Arden, which is the 3rd book in the Winternight Trilogy and the 3rd book that we are reading for the Winternight-A-Long read-along with me and Emma over at Emma's Bookshelves. This book is set in Russia, medieval Russia, and that's why I chose it for this prompt, is because set where you live. I don't live in Russia, but I do live on Earth, and Russia is on Earth, so I felt like I could swing it for that reason. I cannot go too much into this book, really, and what the plot of it is supposed to be, because I think it'll give away the plots of the previous books and would be spoilery. But the overall premise of this book is that you have Vasya Petrovna, who is a girl that lives in a village in the woods, in the forest, basically, far away from Moscow in Russia. And those villages, they brave really harsh winters, but the people there have like a very tight-knit community. They're kind of like country people to people who live in the cities, and like unrefined and all of that. But Vasya has abilities passed down to her from her mother, who died giving birth to her. This is, again, something that you learn very early in the book. It's not a spoiler. And kind of one of the main themes of this book is that women are quiet, subservient. They live tucked away. They are to be married off or go to a convent. Like, those are your 2 options. You can't have a job. You can't have your own life. Being unwed is shameful. Being too loud is shameful. Being too free-spirited is shameful. And Vasya is all of those things. And she does not want to be married. She does not want to go to a convent. And you're basically following her as she navigates what that means in her world that she lives in. And as she gets deeper and deeper into very unwomanly things, essentially, as the story progresses, There is also a character of Morozko, who is the frost demon of Russian mythology, who guides the deceased on to wherever they go. He comes and takes their souls when they die. And then there is the bear, who is essentially the brother of Morozko, who is like the bad guy. Morozko is good or morally gray, and then you have the bear, who is evil and lives and thrives on the fear of others, especially when they die afraid. So there's a lot of different types of storylines happening. There is the mystical storyline with those characters. There is Vasia's storyline, being a woman that does not want to do womanly things. Then there's the historical aspect of Russian politics. There's just a whole lot of different things that go into this story. And for as short as these books are, they really do pack in quite a lot. And the book that I just finished, which is The Girl in the Tower, is the second book in the series. I'm just so worried for a lot of my characters based upon some foreshadowing that has happened, and so I'm very nervous to even read this book. I've heard great things. I've heard that it is a perfect ending to the series, like probably one of the best endings to a series that a lot of people have ever read. So that in and of itself, like, I hope it lives up to that expectation for me, because that's the expectation I have going into it from everything I've heard. But I really don't want to dislike the author for hurting my babies, and I worry that she's going to hurt my babies. So we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. But that, I think, is where that's where the nervousness really is what's going to happen to my favorite characters, because I love so many of the characters in this book. So many. So anyway, yes, if I read nothing else in February, I'm definitely going to be finishing this, because I have committed to it and whatnot for the read-along. Speaking of the read-along, tomorrow we are going to have reading sprints. I'm not sure if this video will be up in time for you to watch it to see this message, but be that as it may, tomorrow, which is Sunday the 30th, today is Saturday the 29th, we are for sure going to be doing some reading sprints to just finalize The Girl in the Tower for those who need it. I'll probably be rereading a little bit of the end, just because I love the end of it. And obviously you're more than welcome to come. You can do productivity stuff. It doesn't necessarily even have to be reading. You definitely don't have to be reading the books we are, but we just would love to see some folks hang out with us. And it may be me only, depending on how Emma's feeling, or it might be both of us. So we'll just have to see where we are tomorrow. But it'll be tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on my channel. So that is the last card pull for February. So there is one rollover book apart from Kingdom of Copper, and honestly this book is probably going to roll over past February into March, because I'm just not in a hurry to get done with it, and that is none other than Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. I am approximately 362 pages into this book, and I am thoroughly enjoying every minute of it. I'm just slowly chewing my way through it. I am in no hurry. And I know that this is probably gonna be one of those things, like it takes me 2 or 3 months to read an installment of this series throughout this year, but I would like to finish up through Rhythm of War, because it's the last one that is currently out. I don't expect to see the fifth book. I think it's the fifth one. I don't expect to see the fifth book this year. I honestly am not even sure if I expect to see it next year. I don't know if Sanderson has set a date for it yet, or if he's even finished it yet. So it's like, again, not a big rush, but I do want to try to finish them this year so that I'm ready whenever it does come out. But I can't really tell you too much about this one without spoiling stuff from the first one, but there's just so much happening. There's political intrigue, there's magic, there is vengeance, there's like psychic foreshadowing, predicting the future, there's gods and spirits and different populations that are at war with each other, and misunderstandings between those populations about the people that they're fighting, which I think is common. There's a lot of just lush world building and descriptions of the creatures and characters that and people that inhabit this world. It's just really great in pretty much every conceivable way. I also listen to this series on audiobook a lot as well. I'll read a little bit of it, but I try to listen to most of it on audiobook because I really like the narrators. There are two. There's a male narrator and a female narrator for the characters, and it's just excellent. And I may finish this in February, especially if it gets like pretty fast paced. I don't know how much of this end is the Sanderlanche, but I know that it's there, so I may do a little research on that. It could be the last 200 pages. It could be the last 400. I don't know. But I'm very, 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 very stoked to get through this one because, like, as much as I liked the first one, it took me a little bit to get through it because I just wasn't used to the length of the story and the just magnitude of reading it. But now that I am, I'm loving this one so much more. And I think that this is well on its way to being, like, one of my favorites. I just hope that it maintains that trajectory. But we'll see. But yes, this is the one carryover that did not apply to any of the prompts. So these are my priority books for the month. I do have a couple that I am interested in reading just because I have them and, like, they are just on my radar, but they weren't as much of a priority as these. The first one is Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. This was a morbid curiosity buy, one that I've been putting off for a while, but when this cover came out, I was like, okay, I might get that. And I would go and I'd pick it up at the store and I'd look at it and I'd carry it around Barnes and Noble and I'd think, I'm gonna buy this. But then when I came down, because I do that, I pick up books and just stack them and then I have a stack of 10 books. I'm like, I can't buy all these, I can't afford all these. So then I'll try to, like, narrow it down, and this one just kept not being the one that I would pick. But the Barnes and Noble near where I live is closing. They have to go to a different location because the, like, landlord doesn't want to renew their lease for whatever reason, I don't know. So they had a sale of 25% off everything. So I went ahead and purchased this one for that sale just because of that. Nah, why not? Don't know when I'll be able to get it again. And I'm just curious. I've heard so many things that even if you don't absolutely think it's the best book ever, it's very entertaining and fun. So we'll see how it lives up to the hype, because it is hyped. It is real hyped. We'll see also if I even get to it. The next one is a bind up of a webtoon that I have actually read most of, I think about 100 episodes of, and that is Volume 1 of Lore Olympus by Rachel Smith. I have read a lot of the series. I think she's got like 195 episodes out, and I've read quite a bit of that, but it was a couple years ago and I don't really remember the full premise of it. So this is the first 50, and I think that it's kind of a slow beginning from what I remember. You don't get like an intense amount of progression in the story just with this one, but the second volume is coming out sometime in 2022. So this I'll read through, refresh my memory, and then be ready for the second volume when it releases. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling. It's kind of modernized as well, I think, and it's just, from when I read it before, I felt like it was a lot of fun, and I'm excited to kind of dive back into this world. I love the art too. I just think that it is really gorgeous, and like the colors are stark, and it's just really great. So I know that this also kind of has mixed reviews, and it does have a lot of trigger warnings, but I really enjoyed it before, so I'm sure that I'll enjoy it again, but we'll have to see. Does it live up to my memory of it? And the final book that's on my radar, but not necessarily on this TBR, is another Hades and Persephone retelling, which is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. A friend of mine who read the Lore Olympus and actually didn't super love it, she read Touch of Darkness and actually really, really liked that one. So I have it on my Kindle, which is somewhere in the house, and I want to read that one because of my friend's recommendation. I want to see what she loves about it that she didn't like about Lore Olympus, and I also just kind of want to get through my ebooks. I have like 100 ebooks, and I barely hardly ever use my Kindle, so I would like to remedy that as well for 2022 and beyond. So that is everything. Those are all the books that are on my radar or that I plan to read for the month of February. I thank you so much for being here and for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that you will be aware whenever I post a new video. I very much enjoyed talking about all these books. Let me know if you have read any of them or if any of them are on your radar to read this year or this month. You are obviously more than welcome to use any of these prompts to choose your own books for February. If you do that, please let me know what you choose in the comments. I am so excited at the prospect of people using my game in whatever way they can. As I've said before, I would love to make printables for you guys of this. But when I scanned the game board, it was very grainy and shitty looking, and I just didn't want to disperse it into the world like that. But my birthday wish, and my birthday's in April, is to get an iPad and an iPad pencil so that I can try to draw things up and then hopefully share those digital resources with you so that if you want to play this game, you can. So that's my goal. We'll see if it happens, but yes, I want to share this more with you all. Anyway, I went off on a tangent there, but again, thank you so much for being here, and I cannot wait to see you guys next time, and I hope that you have a wonderful week and a wonderful start to February. So have a great one. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.